My name is Jake. Welcome to the channel. Over these last couple of days and weeks, I've had a handful of conversations and I've read a lot of comments from you talking about how you're struggling and how you're finding it difficult to find the right way or the best way to invest or the best way to set up your portfolio, and that you're stressed and that it's overcomplicated and you're nervous about making a mistake. And I don't know who needs to hear this or who this video might help, but I thought I would take a little bit of a different approach in today's video and talk about that it's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to not have a perfect life. I had a conversation with a young lady here this last week, and she was talking about some of the anxiety that she had from, watching countless hours of YouTube videos, blogs, talking to different people, and she couldn't figure out what was the right approach for her and her family to when it comes to investing. And that she was, I guess, to put words in her mouth, information overload, and it was really causing a lot of stress and anxiety in her life. And I was looking there and I was thinking to myself, there's probably more people like that out there watching this video than have all the answers. I think a lot of us, and myself included, whenever we go on social media and we look and we see all the great things that maybe our friends or people are posting, all the wins that they're having, all the great things that are going on, nobody talks about their failures openly because, it creates vulnerability. People don't like to be vulnerable. And I think this video, I want to get really vulnerable with you all and talk about my own challenges. And I want you to know that it's okay to be vulnerable and it's okay to not have all the answers, and that stress and all of that, there's healthy stress and there's unhealthy stress. 19 years ago, I was 17 years old and I was working at a grocery store. I was a bagger at a grocery store, and the store, I still remember it to this day. So you had the cash registers and, you'd have the groceries come down and you would have the bagger there stand and bag the groceries. I did that. That was one of the first jobs that I ever had. But right behind me on the second floor, there was a big glass window, but you couldn't see through it. You could only see through on the other side. And behind that glass window was my manager and my boss and, all of the other, store managers. And they would always look down and they would observe everything that we were doing, making sure that we were bagging the groceries correctly, making sure that we were doing our job correctly. And quite literally, somebody was looking over my shoulder when I was working. And it made me feel really, really uncomfortable. And it gave me the feeling that I didn't want to have to work like this for my entire life. And it really started sparking those ideas that I don't want to have to be on somebody else's terms and have control over me and my ability to, how I, make my money and how I live my life. So from a very early age, I understood, the concept of, work. I understood, that I had to trade time for money. And I understood that I wasn't in the financial situation to control my own destiny, if you will. It was controlled for me based off of somebody else. Okay. Now fast forward 13 years and I'm 30 years old. I'm in a really well-paid job, but in a very stressful job. And I realized very quickly that I could not do this forever. I realized that the stress from my high-paced, career was probably quite literally, and I remember saying this to the, exactly like this job is going to kill me. Because the stress that I had to deal with, it really made it so that I couldn't sleep at night in some cases. It was so intimidating going to work some days, knowing that someone else had control over my destiny. Knowing that someone else could decide whether or not I could pay my rent, pay my mortgage. And that really bothered me. And it made me think back on my thoughts of when I was 17 working at that grocery store and how uncomfortable I felt. Now fast forward another 6 years, and today I'm 36 years old. I've been down this path of financial independence and retire early for about 6 years. And I have learned a heck of a lot. I've made a lot of mistakes and I've made a lot of right decisions. I've had a lot of good timing. But I'll say these last 6 years of pursuing FIRE have been some of the happiest and most stressful years of my life. I often told myself that I'd be happy once we reach fire, or everything will change, having that conversation with my wife, everything will change once we reach our financial goals and we reach fire. And I would often say, I can't wait for the good old days to come. And it looked a little like this.
The weird thing is, now I'm exactly where I want to be. I got my dream job at Cornell, and I'm still just thinking about my old pals. Only now they're the ones I made here. I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you've actually left them.
I can't remember when I saw this quote, but it wasn't too long ago, and it really changed my mindset on how my wife and I are pursuing financial independence. And the quote said that happiness is a journey, not a destination. And it's found along the way, not at the end of the road. These last couple of years, all I've been thinking about is that end destination. Thinking about when I can take control over my destiny, and that I don't have to have a manager or somebody looking over my shoulder, having control over what happens in my ability to pay my rent or to pay for my livelihood. Over these last couple of years, I've tried to perfect everything. I've tried to find the magic sauce, the right mix of what are the perfect investments, what is the perfect way to set up your portfolio so that I can retire the fastest that I possibly could. And the more that I think about this, that the happiness is really in the journey and not the destination, it really changes your mindset entirely. And what I've learned over these last couple of years of pursuing FIRE is it's not just about the actions that you take. It's not all about the hustle, or cutting your expenses. A large percentage of your success, or my success, what I've noticed is the mindset, having the right mindset. And I'd often think that I had to have all the answers and that everything had to be perfect. And that would cause a lot of stress in my life. Thinking that I had to pick the right time to buy a stock. I had to pick the right investment and only the right investment. And that there could be no margin of error. It had to be perfect. And I think a lot of people, especially people that teach themselves here on YouTube about finance and they want to learn about investing, they see on YouTube all the things that everybody is doing right. Everything everyone doesn't make a mistake and that you are not allowed or you can't make a mistake. And I think that that's not right. I think a lot of people have to understand that it's okay to make mistakes. And if you're going to make mistakes, which everyone will, it's actually better that you make those quickly so that you can learn from them. And a mistake, once again, coming back to mindset, a mistake is only if it's gone and you've gone through a mistake and you haven't learned from it. But if you learn from a mistake, quote unquote, then it's not really a mistake because you still learned. So when it comes to investing, I would say that there are many paths that can lead to success. There's not one stock, one ETF that is going to be the one and all. Now, people are going to say that you have to do this and mathematically this is the one and only way to be successful and you have to do this. I call BS. I think human beings, you and I, were much more emotional than just simplifying it to a binary set of it's either right or wrong. Human beings were very emotional. The emotional side of our brain is way stronger than the critical side of a way that we think as human beings. And if you can acknowledge that and understand that we are emotional beings, that it's okay to make mistakes, it's okay to not always be right, and it's okay to find the way that works for you, even if somebody else disagrees with you. So it's okay to be different. It's okay to have a different idea or a different opinion about something. And it's okay if somebody doesn't want to agree with you. It's okay. So the reason why I shared that story about myself was that you have to understand that every person is going to be in a different situation. Everyone has a different motivation. For me, from a very young age, I didn't want to have somebody else controlling what happens to me. I didn't want somebody else to come and say, you have to do this and you don't have a choice. That was my why. That is my why, and it continues to be my why for why I'm pursuing FIRE. And so I want to share some things that you can think about if you're going through this whole process of trying to achieve FIRE, or you're trying to achieve financial independence and you're struggling. Here are some things that have helped me. First and foremost, understand your why. Why are you doing it? Why are you going down this path? And understand that this is not just a quick thing that you do for a couple of months and then it's over. This is a life decision. It's like going to the gym. It's changing your habits and your lifestyle. It's not just a hobby. Okay, this is a life-changing event if you truly want to pursue financial independence and retire early, because it requires you to be different. And so you have to understand what is your why. The second thing that I would share with you that's really helped me is automate as much of the process as you possibly can. Once again, human beings are very emotional. That whole concept of buy the dip. You have to buy the dip when stocks are on sale. That can cause a lot of stress. That's why I automate my investing. I set up a set amount. Every single week, I invest the exact same amount, whether the market is up or down. I'm not chasing after buy the dip. That's really, really helped me to not stress and worry about buying the dip at the right time. I just dollar cost average, and it has really, really helped me. The next thing is, don't compare yourself to anybody else. Only compare yourself to yourself. Now that's much easier said than done. But if you consciously think about it, if you watch a YouTube video of somebody showing or talking about something, or if you talk to a coworker or somebody else and they share all the great things that there's going on in their life, understand that there's probably a dark side there as well. They're just not sharing that with you. And so it's best, what I've learned is to only compare yourself to yourself. Let me share a personal example. When I was in Germany, living and working there, and for example, when I was going to school and studying in Germany, I was studying in a foreign language. And so when I would get my test results from, at the university, I would always get frustrated at myself because sometimes I wouldn't get as good of a grade as somebody else who was, obviously spoke the language fluently. And so I had to think to myself, well, I can't compare myself to somebody else because they're in a different situation than I am. So I have to only compare myself against myself. I need to make sure that I am doing better today than I was a week ago or a month ago, and I need to track and focus on myself. And I think most people out there, if you have that mindset of only comparing yourself to yourself, it will bring a lot more happiness to you, and it won't create a lot of envy and stress when you're comparing yourself to others. And the last thing is find peace in the journey, because like I said, this is a long process. If you're a dividend investor and if you're looking to reach financial independence, this is a long process. This is not something that you do and you get rich quickly and then you're done within a year or 2 years. It's very possible that this could take 10 years. 20 years, 30 years. And so finding peace in the journey, and by focusing on the journey and the process and not the destination, it will truly bring you a lot more happiness.
You know what? I think we're gonna be friends. Can everyone say hi to my friend? That's crazy. I just wanted to say thanks. I'm glad you came along, partner.